Growing up, I moved around a lot. And no, I don't mean my family moved around a lot. My family moved me around a lot. But when I was about 12 years old, I was moved to a fairly upscale neighborhood in southern China to live with my parents. There I went to a prestigious middle school. My new classmates thought I was the cool foreign Canadian kid who happened to just look like them. I was a smartass, bragging at having traveled a lot, seen the world. I had to adapt to a foreign country every 3 years, losing all my friends in the process, so everyone around me started telling me how mature I was for my age. And eventually I believed that as well. I was so proud of myself for a 12-year-old. 2 years into my middle school, I'm turning 14. I was minding my own business, trying to settle down into a new place where I barely remember how to speak the language, dealing with 14 hours of school a day. I slowly took my lifestyle as granted. When I get the rare time off, I go downtown to the library, skate in an indoor skating rink, maybe watch a movie. The main streets are always busy, filled with middle-class consumers, parents driving their kids to school in BMWs and Benz on a Saturday. I had the rare privilege amongst my classmates to not have helicopter parents. I get to walk to school. I was so used to my morning walk to school, I could practically walk 20% of the distance with my eyes closed. The other 80% is me here confirming to you that traffic in China is indeed horrifying, chaotic, yet somehow there's order. Anyways, my morning commute consists of a very familiar shortcut through what foreigners may think of as a maze and a slum. Well, when you have just walked from solid pavement, which is swept 3 times a day, onto a dusty dirt road, it is almost as if someone doesn't want you to see what's beyond that corner. Well, first I encounter toddlers running around in clothes that simply don't fit, and you wonder how many siblings or families they have been passed through. Then a convenient garbage pit where flies and rats congregate and eventually decide on which one of those unfortunate toddlers is going to have an unexpectedly short life. As I continue on through my shortcut to a school where my tuition is probably the annual salary of a typical resident in that area, which is worth, by the way, less than a phone in your pocket right now, it was business as usual for me. I've walked down this path easily over 500 times. But that one day, maybe I was a little bit more alert because I went to bed a little earlier the last night. I noticed someone who I must have seen before but never entered my consciousness. She was a woman, maybe in her late 20s or younger if it wasn't for the dirt in her face, the grease in her hair, the gray shirt which must have one point been pink. And in her arms was a baby. She was kneeling next to the garbage pit, picking out what can barely be called food and chewing in her mouth before feeding it to her infant. She was feeding herself and her child from the scraps of the people who live below the poverty line in China. This was a 15-minute walk from my apartment, where we have security guards to keep people like her away from scavenging from our garbage. Most of us may occasionally think about how this world is unfair and agree that the wealth gap should probably be smaller. We acknowledge that there are people faring much, much worse than us. We might type a rant on Facebook blaming Walmart and Apple. Some of us may go the extra step and call or email our government representative. But in reality, most of us are simply satisfied by the thought of feeling guilty about our well-being. No, this story is not about me finding empathy. It's about what I found deeper in myself that day, which changed me. We're okay with simply convincing ourselves we made a difference. Sure, I can be proud that day for buying soy milk for the baby. Oh, and believe me, I was proud. But as soon as I got back that evening, I realized that mother and her baby will most likely be at another garbage pit the next day, next week, the next month if the baby survives. Despite all that, I realized that was as much as I was willing to do. But I was still damn proud of myself for the whole night. It made me realize just how easily our egos can be fed and how willing we are to simply avoid thinking about other people's problems. How proudly people can brag that they took a plane to Mombasa, Kenya to help build a school when they were just there laying bricks for 2 days while spending the rest of the 2 weeks going on nature walks and going to the beach. And apparently that was the epitome of selflessness in my high school. This whole experience really helped knock me off my pedestal, but made me question the very nature of our humanity.